you have any children?
We have 2 kids,
And how old are your children?
5 and 6,
Where do you reside with your wife and children?
in Lone Star.
And how long have you lived at Lone Star?
My whole life.
I would now like to turn to the events that occurred in the early morning hours on October 2nd, 2014, the reason we're here in court today. What did you do that evening?
I went out with my buddy, JT, we got some drinks, and we were having a good old time.
Can you please state JT's full name for the jury?
His name's JT Sanborn.
And what did y'all do before you had the drinks? Did you attend a football game?
We did attend a football game.
And where did you and Mr. Sanborn go after that football game?
To a bar.
Who was driving?
JT was driving.
And what vehicle were you two traveling in?
JT's truck.
Did you have anything to drink that night?
I did.
Did Mr. Sanborn have anything to drink that night?
He didn't have anything to drink.
And what happened when you two arrived at the 7-Eleven?
We both got out. I went inside to go look for something to buy, maybe some chew or something. Saw a gentleman come in and knock over an iced tea bottle.
Is the individual that you saw knock over the iced tea bottle in the courtroom today?
Yes, he is.
Could you please identify him for the jury?
He's that bald man back there.
Do you know that bald man's name?
Pete Mitchell.
And prior to that evening, had you ever seen Mr. Mitchell?
No, ma'am, I have not.
After you saw Mr. Mitchell knock over the tea bottle, what did you do next?
I pointed him and asked him to, pick it up. It looked like he had broken a tea bottle, so I was hoping he'd clean it. I was expecting he'd clean it.
And how
Anyone with a good, decent mind would clean it up.
did Mr. Mitchell respond to that?
He just kind of ignored me and went about his way.
And what happened next?
We got, me and JT, we pay, and we go out in the car and hightail it out of there. And while we're pulling out, there's a car parked in front of us as the lights turning green. We're trying to turn right, and the car's just not going.
And who was driving at this point?
Who driving which car?
Your vehicle.
JT was driving.
What did the vehicle look like that was blocking your path?
It was I think it was black. It was a nice looking car.
And was there another way y'all could have exited the parking lot?
No, there was not.
And this black, nice looking vehicle, did you recognize the driver at that point?
I did not know who the driver was at this point, no, ma'am.
Did you later find out who was driving that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And who is that?
The bald man.
Was there anyone in the vehicle with Mr. Mitchell?
No, ma'am.
What happened next?
What happened next was I got out of the car and I went in front of the nice black vehicle and politely asked the man if he would move so we could go about our way.
And how did Mr. Mitchell respond to you asking him to move in a polite manner?
He flipped me the bird.
Can you further explain to the jury what exactly that means?
Would you like a visual demonstration or?
No, thank you. Just brief verbal description will do.
Well, he put his hand up and put his middle finger up at me and just kind of seemed to dismiss me in a very impolite manner.
And how did that response make you feel?
I was quite angry. I felt insulted.
What did you do next?
I proceeded to the driver's window and tried to get him to roll the window down so I could talk to him.
And what was Mr. Mitchell doing at that point?
Just ignored me.
What did you do after he ignored you?
I tried to get his attention, so I lightly wrapped my finger on his window.
Did you cause any damage to Mr. Mitchell's vehicle?
Not that I'm aware of.
And what did Mr. Mitchell do at this point?
He then opened the car door.
And how did you respond when he opened the car door?
I continued to speak with him about hopefully asking him to move.
Did Mr. Mitchell politely move so that you could leave at this point?
No, ma'am, he did not.
What did he do?
He got out of the car.
And what did he do when he got out of the vehicle?
He had some words for me as well.
What type of words?
Not nice words.
And how did this make you feel?
I was even angrier.
Would you say you felt threatened?
I've been in some threatening positions serving our country overseas, so I didn't necessarily feel threatened, but I did feel that it was an uncalled for situation for him to come out and yell at me. I mean, he was the one blocking the way, and we were just trying to, ask him to have him move the car.
Did you yell back or get physical with Mr. Mitchell?
I did not proceed to get physical with him, no, ma'am.
And how did Mr. Mitchell respond when you exited the situation without returning his verbal abuse or getting physical with him?
We just got to a physical altercation.
And who initiated this physical altercation?
Mr. Mitchell.
How did Mr. Mitchell initiate this fight?
felt something hit the back of my head, maybe a little woozy. I just felt, last thing I remember is, being in an ambulance feeling cold.
Was there anyone else around that could have attacked you other than Mr. Mitchell?
Well, JT was in the car, but I don't think he would attack me.
And Jake, during this altercation outside of the vehicle, where was JT?
Still in the car.
And did you ever attempt to physically harm Mr. Mitchell?
I mean, we were wrestling a little bit. I was just trying to make sure I wasn't, gonna get beat up.
Was this before or after he struck you in the back of the head?
After.
Did you see him strike you?
No, ma'am. I just felt something hit the back of my head.
How many times do you recall Mr. Mitchell hitting you in the back of the head?
Once. The details are blurry, man. I got beat up pretty bad.
When he hit you, did it feel like a hand or was it something harder? What did the object feel like?
It
he was hitting
felt
you with?
like a cold
Objection,
object.
speculation.
Your Honor, he was the one that experienced this injury. He is in the best position to testify to what the object felt like that hit him in the head.
I'll allow it for what it's worth. Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It didn't feel like a hand. It felt like an object, cold object of some sorts.
What damage, if any, did you do to Mr. Mitchell or his vehicle?
I'm not sure about any damage to Mr. Mitchell or his vehicle.
Do you remember what happened next?
I woke up. I was in the ambulance, and then I was in the hospital. An officer was speaking with me.
When you arrived at the hospital, how did the doctor treat your injury?
I was given stitches.
How many stitches were you given?
A lot.
How many lacerations did you have on your head?
I had a big one right here, and then a couple around my eye.
How long were you at the hospital?
I was discharged around 6 in the morning, I believe.
Did anyone take photographs of the injuries you sustained?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, I ask permission to retrieve what's previously been entered into evidence as states Exhibit 11A.
All right, you may.
What is the photograph that I just handed to you?
A less handsome version of myself.
And can you please, using that photograph, describe to the jury all of the places that you had injuries and lacerations from that evening?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I had my left eye right here. Yeah, my left eye was swollen shut. I had a laceration going down the side of my face, and there was blood all around on the top of my forehead, and on my cheekbone on my left side of my face.
And how does your head feel today?
Well, it's feeling okay. It's still recovering a little from the injuries.
How do these injuries impact your day-to-day life?
It's been a little rough. I gotta take some pain medication. I'm still I've been in some pain, just recovering
How have they impacted your relationship with your family?
a little bit. I'm a little more on guard.
And who is responsible for the injuries you endured and this impact they've had on your life?
Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Mr. James. You served in the Army's 3rd Cavalry Division, right?
Proudly, yes, ma'am.
That's an armored division, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to drive some pretty big tanks in some tight spaces, am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
And discipline is a big factor in your training, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Trained to be loyal to your fellow soldier,
Yes, ma'am.
and when you give an order in combat, you expect that order to be followed, right?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance. I don't understand what his training for his military service has to do with him being injured in court today.
Your Honor, he is clearly trained in the military to handle situations like fights, and to be relevant, it only has to have any tendency to make a fact more or less probable, which this clearly does.
I agree. Overruled.
Thank you. So, you're trained in combat that when you give an order, you expect it to be followed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're trained to be loyal to your fellow soldier,
Yes, ma'am.
been side by side with them in battle.
Oh, of course.
In fact, you've been side by side with JT Sanborn in battle, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't have his back,
Oh, of course.
expect him to have yours.
Yep.
And in fact, on October 2nd, 2014, he had your back, didn't he?
Well, I'm sorry. Let me say at his house, got me from the hospital.
Well, he was there at the 7-Eleven with you,
Yep.
and because you were drinking, right?
Yeah, he was driving.
So you guys were at the 7-Eleven together.
Yeah.
And you said at some point at the 7-Eleven, Pete Mitchell knocked over a bottle of tea.
Yeah.
Which made you mad, so you confronted him about it.
That didn't make me mad. I was just a little perturbed.
And you confronted him about this,
I asked him to pick up the tea, and he just kind of went away.
ordered him to clean it up,
establishment, they're gonna clean it up. I mean, if I went to your house and knocked over a tea and I didn't clean it up, would you be mad at me?
But he didn't clean it up, did he?
No.
And he didn't start a fight when you confronted him.
No, neither did I.
He didn't take a swing at you over some spilled tea.
Neither did I.
In fact, Pete walked away.
Yeah.
And you left this on 11 with JT, right?
Mm-hmm.
You went out to your car,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys were driving away, right?
Yep.
And you said that Pete backed up his car and it blocked you guys in.
Well, he was there, we were there, we were trying to get out. Just kind of was blocking our exit.
And Pete's passenger door was facing your truck, and you guys couldn't get around.
That's correct.
Couldn't go to the right of him,
No, no,
couldn't go to the left of him.
no, no.
So you chose to get out of the car.
Well, I was gonna ask him to move the car.
And
which I
you
did.
got out of the car and you walked all the way around Pete's car to the driver's side of the
Well, he's not driving the passenger side, we're not in Great Britain then.
passenger side was closer to you though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he's not driving there. What's he gonna do? Just, he can still ignore me from that side.
You just said you were rapping on the window just to have him roll it down and ask him to politely move.
Yeah, but it's easier to get talk to him on the driver's side. It's a
See?
little awkward if I went to the passenger side and rapped on the window, and he has to lean all the way over.
You chose to go all the way around the car.
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
I'll move on, Your Honor.
All right.
And JT got out of the car too, didn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
And he walked all the way over in front of Pete's car too, didn't he?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
So you were both outside of Pete's car.
Yes, ma'am.
And Pete was the only one in his car, wasn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knocked on the window
Mm-hmm.
and you told him to move his car.
Yes, ma'am.
Ordered him to move his car,
Yes, ma'am.
but he didn't.
No, he did not.
So he ignored you again.
Well, I didn't know it was the second time. I just knew I just wanted to move his car. I just wanted to get on my way.
But he didn't listen.
Nope.
And you said Pete got out of his car, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were so frustrated that you hit that car door, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
In your own words, you said it was out of frustration.
Yes, ma'am.
And Pete was in between that car door, wasn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't just hit that car door, you slammed that car door repeatedly on Pete's legs, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And after that was when you were hit on the head.
Yes, ma'am.
And after you were hit on the head, you stopped slamming that door, didn't you?
Well, after I got hit in the head, I was kind of very hurt, man. You've been hit in the head with a flashlight?
And next thing you recall is rolling around on the ground, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right there on the asphalt,
Yes, ma'am.
rolling around in the dark parking lot.
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, you were charged for disorderly conduct, weren't you?
Objection, Your Honor, this is outside of the scope of direct and it's also improper character evidence. He's not on trial today.
Your Honor, we're not going into his character, we're not saying he's acting in conformity therewith. We're merely saying that he was involved in this incident, which is intrinsic to the reason we are in court today.
I agree. Overruled.
You were charged with disorderly conduct, weren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Which you pled guilty to, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And you never claimed self-defense, did you?
No, ma'am.
In fact, you pled guilty to fighting Pete Mitchell.
Takes two to start a fight.
Thank you, no further questions.
Can you read the rest?
Briefly,